Yes, dear children, in the previous session, we came to know that plants will prepare all the required nutrients, all the different types of nutrients, carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and many. Why plants are preparing these nutrients? Not to supply to animals. That is not the purpose of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is a preparation of different kinds of nutrients for the survival of plant. So plant will prepare and stores in different places and to use it for its own survival, own living purpose. But it prepares excess than its need, than its use for survival, and it is stored in different areas. And coming to the second group of organisms where they cannot prepare their own nutrients called heterotrophs. They cannot prepare, they cannot synthesize. There is no photosynthesis process in heterotrophs. Then how they will survive? They will take the food from plants. They will take the food from plants which are prepared inside the plant like carbohydrates, proteins and fats. So we have seen a basic statement in the previous sessions that universal food providers who are called universal means for the entire world, who is providing food? Nothing but called plants. The universal food providers are called plants. This complete in the previous sessions. And also one more parallel bit along with this. Which process is called universal food providing process? Which process? Nothing but called as photosynthesis. The providers are plants, the providing process is photosynthesis. Now we go to the related another important statement. It is a statement that what is called basic energy source for most of the living world. What is source means? From where we are getting is called a source. If I want to get energy, I take food which is coming from plants. Who is basically giving energy to me? Food prepared by plants only. Even I eat flesh of animal, the animal to survive, it should depend on plant, and again the plant is preparing the food in basic. Is it or not? So for all the organisms in the world, even for plant to live and get energy, it should undergo a process called photosynthesis. So plants need photosynthesis for their energy. Animals also need, should depend on the basic principle called basic process called photosynthesis for getting food and to fulfill their energy needs. So if the question is what is basic energy source for most of the living world? So basic energy source is nothing but called photosynthesis. Is it or not? So if photosynthesis prepares food, from that plants will live. By taking the plants food, animals will live. So before moving into the next things to discuss, here what is the important food prepared, dear children? The important food prepared, simple carbohydrate is called glucose. Later this simple carbohydrate called glucose is stored as a complex important carbohydrate called as starch. From this movement, we will start different experiments. We have seen a theoretical thing that plant is taking carbon dioxide. Simply we are going through theoretical things, but it is invisible. Plant is taking carbon dioxide. How you can see it? You cannot see it. So we are going to different experiments to prove plant takes carbon dioxide. Plants depend on water. Yes, we can see easily that plants depend on water. Plants depend on sunlight. Yes, it is proved in different experiments. And first of all, we go with an experiment called plants prepare starch. Plants store starch in their leaves. Leaves have starch in them. So there is a first experiment for that to prove starch is present in leaf. What is starch? Starch is a complex material formed by glucose. What is glucose? Glucose is an important material prepared in photosynthesis. If we prove that starch is present in leaf, we can easily say that plants are preparing their own food and storing as starch. So let us start an equation. Let us start an experiment to prove the presence of starch in leaf. As dear children, we are going through a topic and an experiment to prove that starch is present in leaf, which is coming out of combination of many glucose molecules and prepared in photosynthesis. Yes, here is an activity given in our textbook. Once again, I will send this activity page to you. It starts with activity 1 and which is called presence of starch, a type of carbohydrate in leaf. So this is the title of this activity, and this is arrangement of the apparatus and everything we will see in this discussion. Here in this what we call the presence of starch in leaf experiment, we have to select a leaf, a plant which is exposed to sunlight for some hours. Why it is a plant which is exposed to sunlight? We have taken such a plant that which is exposed to sunlight. Why should select such a plant which is exposed to sunlight? Because when it is exposed, when it is faced to sunlight for some hours, it synthesizes starch in it. So it should be first care in this experiment that plant should be selected in such a way that it must be exposed to a bright sunlight for 4 to 6 hours, because it is a confirmation that photosynthesis taking place in this by taking sunlight. Now detach a leaf from such a plant which is exposed to sunlight. Take a leaf which is taken from such a plant exposed to sunlight. Now we need to prove in this leaf what is present. Starch is present. What is starch? A form where glucose is prepared in photosynthesis to store as a starch. When we go to some higher standards, we will also do the same experiment with a variegated leaf. What is variegated leaf? This is not there in our textbook. Some additional thing it is to know, but just for knowledge sake. There are some leaves which we will see in parks or some decorative plants called the leaves with different colors, different patches of colors in them. Some are green colored, some are yellow colored, are patches of leaves. Patches of colors are there. Such a leaf is called variegated leaf. So we can take a variegated leaf or a normal leaf where a complete uniform green color is there on leaf. So if you come to know what is a variegated leaf, a leaf with different patches of colors is called as a variegated leaf. Why? We can also take variegated leaf. This is actually not there, just for knowledge. If we take variegated leaf, these are the shaded parts. What I am giving is in green color. The remaining parts are in some other different colors like yellow or some other. So by doing this experiment, we will come to know that the green colored parts only prove us that starch is present here. The green color parts only proves us the starch is present here. The parts other than green color like these patches, they doesn't prove that starch is present in them. Anyway, so variegated leaf also can use, but in our standard, up to our standard, we use a complete green colored leaf. That is, which is taken from a plant which is exposed to bright sunlight. Now take this leaf. We want to test it for starch is present or not. We need to use some chemical reagents in this experiment, dear children. So chemical reactions must be followed here. The chemical reagents should be used here is iodine. We need to use a chemical called iodine to prove the presence of starch. So iodine is, which is also called as betadine. Iodine or betadine can be used. A chemical called iodine or betadine can be used to prove the presence of starch. We will continue the next session.